well. So thank you to be here today. I'm pretty sure there's some other people also gonna come, but we will start this webinar to respecting everybody's time. So we will starting to presenting you also our commentators. So welcome to webinars in today anticipating threat cybersecurity for manufacturer facing today challenges. So presenter today, so we're having my colleague Karim. I will let you present yourself.
Thank you, Karen. My name is Karim. I'm the Chair for Cybersecurity for StreamScan. I'm specialized on cybersecurity, mainly on intrusion detection and prevention systems and incident handling, and especially in the area of manufacturing, aerospace, defense, and critical infrastructures. And for that, I used to work with a company which would got hacked by ransomware attack. I help them to find how the bad guys enter the network, what we can do to just contain the incident, do some eradication, and help the company to come back to production as soon as possible. And I'm happy today to be with you to talk about cybersecurity for manufacturing company and how we can give you some advice to help you to enforce your cybersecurity.
Thank you, Karim. And me is Karim Brisson. I'm the Manager of Growth and Sales Strategy for everything englobing the aerospace, defense critical infrastructure, and also the initiative of CMMC certification. So just to start, we will explain it to you what is the purpose, the objective of the webinar. So in today's fast-evolving digital landscape, the manufacturing sector faces unique and also pressing cybersecurity challenges. And as we approach 2025, the nature of the cyber threat continue to evolve and require manufacturers to stay ahead of the risk and can impact both operation and also the supply chain. So in this session, we will deep dive into the reality of the manufacturing industry, so exploring the specific cybersecurity challenges that companies can encountering and will likely face in the near future. So our goal is to helping you to analyze the current state of cybersecurity within the manufacturing sector and understand its unique vulnerabilities, also to understanding the key threats that will define the cybersecurity landscape for 2025. For more anticipating and effectively counter cyber attacks before they have the chance to disrupt your operation, and also to strengthen your cybersecurity posture to safeguard not only your internal system, but also your crucial supply chain network. And to helping you to having a mindset to adopt a proactive and holistic approach to cybersecurity that goes beyond reactive measures, ensuring the long-term resilience of your operation. So we hope that by the end of this webinar, you have a comprehensive understanding of the evolving threats and the strategy necessary to protect your business against the growing tide of cyber risk. For those who doesn't know who StreamScan is, I'm going to just make a little overview. So our journey began in 2011 with frontline experience in incident response.
Karen,
So
you can just share your screen.
Oh, excuse me. I was thinking that my screen was share. Excuse me. Everybody see my screen? Karim, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Perfect. So our StreamScan journey began in 2011 with incident response, so an expertise that remained the core of our mission today. We continue to support organizations through complex cyber incidents, from full-scale containment to ransomware negotiation. Also, this real-world exposure constantly feed and sharpen our operational methodology that we're having today. So over the years, we expand our services to offer a comprehensive approach built on 3 pillars. First, we help companies to develop and implement robust cybersecurity strategies, including support for industry-leading certifications. Second, we deliver also some monitoring services to operational services, such as continuous network monitoring to detect and development. So our technology we launched in 2014 and leading to our first proprietary technology in 2017. So it just enabled us to offer cutting edge device expertise to our client. And by coming field experience, strategic guidance, and technological innovation, we ensure clients they are equipped to face today more sophisticated cyber threat. So just to start, we will having a little the current context of the situation that we see right now on the field. So we're going to start with an important data. So the manufacturing sector remains particularly vulnerable to cyber attacks. And according to the IBM X-Force Threat Intelligence Index 2025, it remains the most target industry for the fourth consecutive years. So the data talk by itself. And attackers can use various methods to breach manufacturing system, with extortion of data theft being the most common forms of attack. And these attacks primarily aim to target companies, financial assets, and intellectual property with a significant impact of the security sensitive data. Also, we've seen that ransomware continued to be a major threat in the sector with a higher incidence of manufacturing. So the exploitation of outdated technologies is frequently leveraged by cyber criminals who infiltrate companies' network by taking advantage of unpatched vulnerabilities when is outdated system. And inside the network, the goal is to often to take control of the servers and exfiltrate the valuable data. So the method used by attackers have evolved to become more steadily. For example, reducing the visibility of malware, so it can allow cyber criminals to remain in system longer before being detected. Meanwhile, we also see some AI power phishing and credential thief are on the rise. So it's just reflecting the increasing sophistication of the attacks. And it's just very important to understand that the consequences for manufacturing companies are manifold. So in addition to operational disruption caused by ransomware, many companies also suffer damage to their reputation. And the credential thief and exploitation of poorly secure access points also increase the risk of recurrent cyber incidents, so giving the attackers a persistent access to systems. So the challenges that we see with this type of a situation is the manufacturing sector face a series of structural and also technological challenges that hinder its digital transformation and exacerbate its vulnerability. So the first one that we see here on the screen is the cybersecurity is just a persistent growing threat. So as the more target industry in the world, as we see earlier, the manufacturing sector accounts for nearly 26% of cyber incidents, with the majority involving ransomware. And also the attacker take advantage of outdated OT environment system, which are rarely monitored and also have a low level of cybersecurity maturity. So a lot of company hesitating to interrupt production to secure the environment, which increase the exposure because they don't have a clear strategy to how managing their cybersecurity by fear to having a stop into their production. The second point is the aging infrastructure and legacy systems. So many factories still rely on outdated critical technologies that are difficult to update without high cost of operational risk. And also this dependency slow the integration of the modern solution. So while creating vulnerabilities that are actively targeted by cyber criminals, and still one of the most one used today. We also have the number three is the exposed digital supply chain. So we see the increase of the digitalization raise and the dependence on the third-party suppliers to gain more productivity, who are often less well protected. So the surface for cyber attacks is more larger than what it was. And a cyber attack on a sling and link in the chain can disrupt the entire supply chain. So we're having some example that we see the domino effect is real, and it can leading to a significant financial losses and production shutdown. So they can also slow down your own operation if you depend on a supplier. So it's not only your own cybersecurity, everybody have their own responsibility in terms of cybersecurity because we are all interconnected, and suppliers also having a responsibility with their client or suppliers who are connected with them. We also have the skilled labor shortage and skills gap. So we see also a big digital shift that requires also some talent in cybersecurity, automation, AI profile that are currently in high demand and short supply. We see also a cultural resistance to change. So the digital transformation project often face human barriers. So we can talk about the fear of the unknown, the resistance of the new technology in place, the lack of awareness, and this internal inertia can undermine the success of even the best design initiative because we need to take in consideration that cybersecurity is a part of the digital transformation. And the human part of it is one of the most important things also to take in consideration when we're talking about cybersecurity. And for the last point here, we also know that the complexity of system and data management, so the explosion of data from sensors, machines, connected system can create new challenges in analysis, also the integration and the governance to put in place. So poor data management hinders decision making and operational performances on long term. And also, there's another reality that we want to speak about that we see since a long time ago. So the manufacturing sector, pardon me, the cybersecurity reality on the ground reveals a clear division between the informational technology, the IT, and also the operational technology, the OT. So each one facing specific, but still need to be interconnected and have interconnected challenges. So for the first part, for the IT side, we see the IT infrastructure in many manufacturing companies are often considered health secure, if we can say that way, while basic measures such antivirus, firewall can be in place or EDR technologies, but there's often a lack of real-time monitoring to detect attacks. And the absence of proactive monitoring can open the door to increasing risk, partially due to classic vulnerabilities such as the use of outdated operating system, the lack of activity logging, which prevent a quick response in a case of incident. And also the fact to having the expertise to can create playbooks and also to making sure to having a good historic. So when you're having a cyber incident, it's more easier to address it. About the OT environment. So we're talking a lot of the operational technology, which manage the operations, the production systems, and also the critical equipments. They are often in even more worrying situation because the system lack necessary updates and are rarely under continuous monitoring because there's not a lot of technology can be installed on them. So the predominant approach with OT teams remain too often if it works, we don't touch it, which is make a system vulnerable and increasingly sophisticated attack because we don't have an overview on it. But we need to understanding that there's some strategy that can exist responding specifically to the OT environment. So it brings that separation between the IT and OT is a persistent challenge. So it's lie into the historical separation between IT OT teams. Traditionally, these two domains have been managed in isolation with strict segmentation of IT and OT networks. While this approach was adopted for security reasons in the past, and it now leads to siloed work rather than unified teamworks. This fragmentation of responsibility can create significant challenges, particularly in terms of the communication between the two teams, sharing critical information, by example, and also an incident management. So this whole mentality only strict about having a strict separation between IT and OT environment continues to persist. We're seeing a lot of this on the field. So enduring a smooth collaboration and increasing the complexity of risk management. And what we're proposing to address these challenges is essential to rethink the approach and foster a stronger collaboration between these two teams, while implementing security solution can be tailored to the specific of each domain because they have different purposes and different objectives in terms of cybersecurity. So the to having this mentality. So there's some impact on the current situation that we see. So the first one is the loss of agility in decision making. So the separation of IT and OT can slow down the ability to react quickly to threats, which can be a big problematic. And when a threat is detected, inefficient collaboration between those teams can cause delay implementing solutions and corrective action. So it can cost more at the end of it. We see also a lot of increased risk management cost. The fact then this is more complex and costly when you need to coordinating multiple teams. So the investment in cybersecurity often redundant and less effective, and leading to poor allocation of resources also. We see a lot of impact on productivity and operational efficiency. Pardon me. So the division of responsibility between the IT and OT creates communication barriers. So this can cause delay in operations, also a lot of human errors due to the incomplete for information and the malfunction in critical system. And the lack to having politics, then everybody can understanding what they need to do in terms of which situation can occur, also can create a lot of problematic on long term. We also have a reduced overall visibility of the risk. This is one very important here. So each team may only focus on its own system, so it can neglecting the interconnection between the environment. This reducing also the ability to have an overview of vulnerabilities and threat, increasing the risk of successful attack. One of the most important thing is to understanding as an organization what is the top risk that you have in. So working in silos cannot properly can address this type of subject, and also for all the C-suite, the direction, they don't have an overview properly if they don't working together to more managing budget and also the project in terms of cybersecurity. We see also a decrease of stakeholder trust. So we see this a lot. It depends on the field, but right now, certification and also we see a lot of clients starting to obligate some certification or their own requirements in terms of cybersecurity. So some clients and partner and other stakeholder can perceive a fragment company as less secure, less managing risk of the organization in general, and less capable of managing all these risks all at one time. So this can affect the company reputation and also result in the loss of a trust in this cybersecurity management, which in some different sector can lead to not having some other clients or other applying to other RFP or other type of situation. So we see also a lot of difficulty meeting the regulatory requirements. So an increasing number of regulation required to have a unified approach to cybersecurity. So we can talk a little bit later about the IEC 62443. So is a cybersecurity requirement framework, if we can say, they can help in companies to unify this approach. So the direction can have a better understanding of the cybersecurity as an organization and have a 360 view, because working in silo can complicate compliance with those type of requirements. So it can leading to fine sections or the loss of important certification for the company. We see also a lot of impact at the end of the day on innovation and digital transformation, because we have tendency to always separating the digital transformation with the cybersecurity, which they need to come together. So the seal can slow down the innovation in case. So if we don't have a good strategy to implement it at the same time, we can see a lot of increase in terms of also budget, because we don't work at the same time. We cannot put some strategy to making sure then every door is closed as we advancing to the digital transformation. So where the integration of the IT and OT technology is very essential to understand for the automating and digitizing processes. So the digital transformation become more and more difficult to achieve when a team do not collaborate together effectively. So the conclusion, we think that we need to having the IT and also the OT need to have distinct goal and strategy because they don't address the same purpose, but it's also essential to address them in a unified way to ensure to having a robust cybersecurity in the manufacturing sector. So working in silos in between IT and OT only augmented the risk, slow down decision making, and increase the risk management cost at the end of the day. So on the contrary, if we having a good collaboration between these two areas is not only allow for a better response to threat in real time, but also can improve operational efficiency, reducing cost, and ensure to have an overall visibility for vulnerabilities. So it can helping also to have to the direction to having a better understanding of cybersecurity and can implement it into also the employee, so the human factor, which is one of very important things, because cybersecurity is not only a question of technology and processes, is also a question of all the employee need to understanding the purposes of cybersecurity depending on their role in the company. So by adopting the integrated and strategy approach to the cybersecurity, the manufacturing companies can strengthen their resilience, ensure the continuity of their operation, they remain compliant, with the regulatory requirements and asking more and more depending on which sector that you're working in, and also foster innovation and the digital transformation. The most important thing is to providing this 360 view, to making sure then all the organization can see what is the real and major risk and address it properly. So here we're gonna explain it to you some real recent situation that happened into our monitoring. So as we said earlier, we're doing some incident response. We're also doing the monitoring of our clients. So we're gonna present you two case scenario that we see often. So from threat to reality. So this is some lesson from the field that we have. So the first one, Karim's gonna explain something that we see a lot in SMEs companies. I will let you, Karim, to presenting the case in question.
Okay, thank you, Karin. In this case, this is for one company from Montreal who call us because they face a ransomware attack. But this is something that we used to see. The company was in manufacturing. They call us because they have a ransomware attack, and when we start working with them to understand what is happening and to see how we can help them, we saw that the company don't have a cybersecurity policy. They don't have a cybersecurity framework that they follow, and the cybersecurity strategies isn't clear. In this case, they just buy cybersecurity product, antivirus, EDA technology, and everything that they see that it could be nice for cybersecurity. They buy it and they install it in their network. And in their mindset, for them, the cybersecurity was good enough because they have like cool cybersecurity product. And the company has one IT director, and the cybersecurity, the IT was managed by an external company. And when we start doing some investigation to understand what is happening, we saw that the attack started by a remote access attack. It is they have a VPN access, which is accessible on internet, and for this company, everybody use username and password to connect to the network. And unfortunately, some bad guys identify this remote access VPN, and they start doing some attack on that. And it take a few months. And at the end, the attack was successful, and the bad guys jump on the network, and they move trying to find what are the important server for the company. And they also identify the backup server, because for bad guys, when they today for most of ransomware attack, when bad guys jump on the network, one of the first servers that they are looking for is the backup server, because they know that if they are able to destroy your backup, you will not have a choice. You will come to them to try to negotiate, because you need to have access to your system. And of course, in some this company, and this is also the case for a lot of manufacturing company, they use very legacy system, Windows XP, Windows 2008, and something like that. And this kind of system are not secure enough. They are not secure enough, and you cannot have some some patch, some fix to protect them. And this make the network very weak, and there are a lot of vulnerabilities that can be exploited by the bad guys to jump on the network. And we because the company backup was destroyed, we start to check to see if we can restore the backups that they have, and it's taking a lot of time. And the company decision was to talk with the bad guys to understand if we can negotiate. Just for me, I don't recommend negotiating with bad guys, because you never know. If you pay ransom one time, next time if they try to find another client, because for them the victim are client. If you pay one time, they can come back to you. But in this case, it was a use case for the company. They saw that their backup were not good enough, and they start talking with them, and the bad guys are asking for $500,000, and this was too much. And the company decided to don't negotiate, and this was the right thing to do. And at the end, this take more than 2 weeks that the production line was stopped. Nothing is working. The company was unable to sell, and the damage were very high for this company about that. And in such kind of case, when you see the scenario of the attack, if the company has in place the right VPN server with multi-factor authentication and they continue to enforce the security of the network, they will never face such kind of attack.
We just put also the situation, then this is a situation that we see a lot. So companies try to putting some stuff in place, but don't really have the good expertise to manage it. So sometimes can have a problem at the end of the day. So another situation that we see, another case, is a client that we monitoring the network of it. And this is a situation that we can see often in every businesses. So Cameron will let you explain the case in question.
Okay. In this case, it is like a manufacturing company. The human resource open a new position and they start receiving some resume from candidates. And one of the resumes that they received was very suspicious. When the human resource person tried to open the file, every time that is they try to open the file, when the file start opening, it will stop. And this is due to the antivirus, the EDA technology on the machine that block the file. And this was not something that we are expecting for. And the company, they call us to just to check to see if something is wrong. This is the right thing to do every time that you think that something is suspicious. And when we start doing some investigation, for us, the reason was suspicious because when, as you can see in the line that you have on the screen, the part one, it is a PDF file, but this is identified by the operating system as a shortcut. And for that, the first thing that most of the company will do is to take this file and to upload it in some sandbox where you can see on the market. We know any.ryan, we know Virus Total and other platforms that you can take a file that seems to be suspicious, you upload it on this kind of platform, and under this platform, you have a lot of antivirus, more than 50 antivirus, and all of them will run the file to identify if it is malicious or not. In this case, when the file was uploaded in Virus Total, which is the most known platform, no antivirus were able to detect that. And in such kind of scenario, in most of the company, people will say, okay, if we send it in Virus Total and Virus Total is saying that the file is clean, for sure the file is clean. But for us, as a cybersecurity company, this is not enough because we see that the file seems to be suspicious. And the first thing that we have to do is to do a deep analysis on that to understand what is happening on this file and to conclude if the file is really malicious or not. And for that, and for that, what we'll do, we do some deep analysis on this file. And when we go on the file properties, we see on the part, because for every file, when you go to the property, you can say a lot of information, a lot of options, and there is one line which is the target. The target is part of each file, like this PDF file is, what will be run when you start to open the file. And in this case, what really happening is that when the human resource person try to open the file, what is really executed is the command, which is the target. You can see that in red. It is like a script what it was built on the target line of the file. And what this command do every time that the file is executed, it try to do a remote connection to an external system, and it download the file, and the file is installed on your machine in silent mode. Like you are just reading your file, you are thinking that you are just reading a PDF file, but behind that you have a remote malicious file which is installed on your machine. And at the end of the installation, the file will give a remote access to the bad guys, and externally he is able to connect your system, to move on your system, to try to find which other device are in your network, and after that it will jump and maybe enter a ransomware on your network. This is the reason why when you are not sure about the cybersecurity that you have in place, don't have the right expertise, you have to learn to do some training to increase your level of expertise on that. Or you can also talk with external cybersecurity companies that have experience for you. Because in such kind of case, we talk to the company to say, okay, what you will do if you don't call us, what will be the path that we will do. And they tell us that they are happy that we identify that the file was malicious, because the human resource next step will be to take the file and to run it in another machine. It can be like another machine where there is not antivirus or and something like that. And if he did it, for sure the machine will be infected and the bad guy will jump on the network. And it is very important when you put in place your cybersecurity. It is very important to do some user awareness, talk to your guys, your employees, to help them to identify such kind of situations that seem to be suspicious. And if your IT team is not able to handle that, just call an external party to have some help, because this will really help you some case to avoid an intrusion or ransomware attack and other uh, kind of intrusion on your network.
So this is also a question of expertise, but also when you're having an ad hoc approach about monitoring the network or resolving tickets and other stuff. This is the type of details that probably you don't have the proper time to examine it. This is another point also that's very important to take in consideration. After these two cases, we're having some, of course, strategic direction for 2025. So the first one is the one main important here. You need to choose the right cybersecurity partner. Is very crucial, and specifically for the manufacturing sector. So we spoke a little bit earlier. We see that the manufacturing sector are also the first sector who was more targeted. So you have their own vulnerabilities. The attacks are most sophisticated to responding to the manufacturing sector. So you need to having a partner who understanding this. So in the context that the cyber threat is multiplying for the industrial infrastructure, often rely on the critical technologies. Choosing the right cybersecurity partner is not longer an option, but this is strategically necessary. The manufacturer is particularly vulnerable, so it can combine complex, heterogeneous, and aging IT and OT environment where only a single vulnerability can have a major consequences. So we're talking here about production shutdowns, intellectual property can be stolen. It can also damage the reputation of the company. So there's a lot of company since the last 2 years. We see a lot of thing in the newspaper that happened to some companies and having affected their reputation. So it's more difficult to manage after this when you want to have other contract with other clients. And at the end of the day, it can have also some significant financial loss. So a competent cybersecurity partner must not only understanding these challenges, but also have proven expertise in those industrial environment. So beyond the technical skills, the right partner should act as a strategic advisor, so capable of assessing the specific risk for each organization, proposing also tailored solution rather than generic ones that doesn't really apply to the manufacturing sector, and also can have an understanding about this in supporting the digital transformation while ensuring the operational resilience. Um, Opting for an independent partner is also a good choice because the partner will not be driven by commercial alliance, but by an objective of analysis of the best technologies, and it can also ensure that the recommendation can meet the company real needs. So we know then in OT environment and sometimes IT too, we can see some system legacy. This is not every technology on the market that can respond to those type of technologies on place. So in summary, a good cybersecurity partner can help to navigate the complexity of the digital landscape while protecting what's matter the most. So operational continuity, industrial innovation, the trust of customers and partners, and also can understanding your environment in chance. So what's englobing the strategies? So we proposing here some 5 strategy, more generalistic to having an approach. After Karim's gonna explain to you more in details the top 10 to having into your network. So the first one is to have a rigorous risk assessment to start. So it's just essential to identify internal and also the external vulnerabilities that could affect the business. So regular risk assessment can help to uncover weakness also in the systems, such as outdated technology that you're having into your network, unsecure processes, and also potential gap in the supply chain because of lack of policies or governance. And this analysis should cover all the aspects, so the IT and OT infrastructure, as well as an interaction with external suppliers and partners, because you all been part in one entity. So the strategy number 2 will be the access security. So when you're implementing the robust access control and critical to limit the exposure of sensitive system, it's important to define strict access policies based on the principle of least privilege. So implement centralized identity management and also use technology like multi-factor authentication to strengthen your entry points security. Also, by the fact that now we are talking about a lot of companies starting to, since the pandemic, having some people working at distance. So multi-factor authentication is just a base to have for your employee. The strategy number 3 is to having a proactive vulnerability remediation. So we know that the regular maintenance and updating for critical system is essential to protect them from cyber attack. So this strategy can involve continuous vulnerability management, including the implementation of the security patches and software updates for industrial systems. So a rapid remediation process in response to newly detected vulnerability is crucial to minimize risk. And having a good partner who can also indicating you when there's a new vulnerability, having a risk on your organization is very important, is mandatory. The strategy number 4 is to having a continuous network monitoring. So the real-time incident detection and prompt response are key to effectively counter the cyber threat. So it's just important to deploy continuous monitoring solution that provide visibility into data flows across both IT and OT environment. So it can enabling the early detection of suspicious activity before it can compromise the infrastructure security. And also is not every exploitation system can having some technology on them, but there's some different strategy that we can put on place to making sure that those assets can still be secure in the whole way. And the strategy number 5 will be the developing a cybersecurity culture. So the training and raising awareness among the IT and OT teams are priorities to strengthen cybersecurity at all levels of the organization. So having a strong cybersecurity culture is built through active employee engagement, encouraging safe practices, and ensuring employees are empowered to report anomalies and suspicious activities because they are on the field and they operate day to day. Their regular training that we see on the market and simulating attack can help maintain vigilance and ensure also appropriate response during an incident. So with these general strategy, that apply consistently and proactively, they can be able to enable the manufacturing sector to defend against the increasingly complex threats and also protect its critical operation and assets. So we're going to just going more in detail on a top 10 that we elaborating that you need to have as a base into cybersecurity. So Karim, I'm going to explain to you which is the most important one. Those are not correlated with number 1 to 10. It's just 10 that you need to have in place.
Okay. I used to manage a ransomware attack and intrusion in a company, including manufacturing, for more than 10 years now. And I can tell you that most of the time, the bad guys, they use 4 methods to get access to the company network. First one is remote access attack. It can be a brute force attack against your VPN server or your terminal server or something like that. This is the means that we will use. Most of the time, this is not done. The attack are not done by person, by human, but it will be done by botnet that are this automated program which run on the internet 24/7, trying to find some vulnerability to exploit. And there are several million of botnet which are running every day. This is the top one. Second one is using what we call remote code execution attack. It's like in your network, you have some vulnerability system having some high critical vulnerability, and the bad guys, they will identify this vulnerability on your network using the botnet, and they will try to inject some attack on your system to exploit this remote code execution vulnerability, and it's work. Even if you have multi-factor authentication on the server, even if you use a very strong password, this remote code execution attack will be successful because they will help the bad guys to become admin on your servers, and after that they will jump trying to find other machine on your network. The third one is phishing attack. They will run some phishing attack, send email to a lot of people on your company, trying to hoping that someone will click. And if someone click, there are two scenarios. First scenario is that a malicious file will be installed in his device, and this is the door for the bad guy to enter on your network, or the user will click, enter his username and password on a fake platform, and the bad guy will collect this information, and after that they will connect on your network. And the fourth means that we see is attack using your partner. It can be IT company, because we know that in manufacturing company, many manufacturing company have some platforms, some device, some product which are managed by external parties. And most of the time, there's guys which are your partner. They will connect to your system using a username and a password, and sometimes it is a default password, or the password is not secure enough. And of course, there is no multi-factor authentication. And if some bad guy gain access to the partner network, they can easily jump and move on your network. There are the four means that we use to see in your on companies. And to face on to enforce your security and to decrease the likelihood of attack, the first thing you have to do is to identify the top 10 of the kind of cyber risks that can target you. First one is ransomware attack. Second one, phishing attack. After that, it can be data exploitation and over depending on which area you are. But if you know the top 10 of the risks that you can face, you have to identify for each of the risks what you have to put in place in terms of measure to enforce your security and to avoid such kind of attack. And after that, most of the time when the bad guy jump on your network, they have to do some lateral movement to identify over machine. And we know that most of the manufacturing company, the network are flat. The bad guy jump on the network and they can see all the machine. This is the reason why it is a good idea to do what we call network segmentation or network zoning. It is like you will create a zone for your server, another one for your laptop, another one for your operation technology, and so on. And in this case, if a bad guy jump on your network, we cannot move from like a laptop zone to the server zone very easily. It will be very hard for them to move from zone to zone. It is a good idea to do that. And of course, for all remote access, I'm talking about the VPN access, terminal server access, but also your email system. You have to use multi-factor authentication, because if you don't do that, if in your company some user have multi-factor authentication and other don't have it, it is a bad idea, because you never know who will be targeted by an attack on your network. Just multi-factor authentication for everybody, including upper management, IT guys, and uh, standard users. And for backup, it is very important for you to have backups and to have a three copy of backup. One can be stored internally, one is offline, and over in the cloud, because you never know. If one of those backup is not working, you have just to find another way to access on that. And in my experience in company, when handling some ransomware attack, we see that more than 60% when people start companies start to restore the backup, they say that the backup is not working well. Sometimes it is partially working, but 60%, I would say, backup is not full working. This is the reason why I strongly advise you to create your backup, but one time per year, you have to stop and to do some backup testing to ensure that your backup system is working. If you don't do that, unfortunately, one day you can have an attack and you will see that your backup is not working. Just create your backup and also test them to ensure that everything is okay. And you also have to have a incident response plan. This plan is very important because it will identify what you have to do if you face an incident, what you have to do to contain the incident, and to identify how which device on your network or server are affected. You will have to identify all of them. You have to disconnect them. After that, you have to eradicate the incident to clean your system to be sure that the network is okay. And after that, you will come to recovery and so on. You have to have this plan, and this incident response plan will identify what you have to do to manage the incident, who will work in incident response if you don't have experience internally to do that, which who will be the external part like a cybersecurity company, which will use you, help you when you will face an incident. Just write that on a paper, which is a policy, and then train your team to know what is the content of this policy and how to handle the attack will be very useful, because if you don't do that and you face an incident, it will be very hard to know what are the steps that you have to take to solve the problem.
And also to making sure then the people who are responsible for their part into this response can are the good people also in the good place. This is the best way to verify it.
And yeah, just for vulnerability management is very important because like I'm saying, there are some remote code execution attack, and if you have some system, mainly the system which are internet facing, every time that you have server which are internet facing, you have to identify vulnerability on that. At last, one time per quarterly, you run the vulnerability scanning, you identify critical vulnerability, and you fix them. And it is very important to continue to identify vulnerability on your network because you never know. And network security monitoring is very important because when your system is when you put your system in prod, and all the time the system will be targeted by attack. And you have to know in your network which are the systems that are legacy system in which you cannot install cybersecurity product like antivirus. Identify the system and do a deep monitoring about them. If you see that the system are under attack, just identify what is happening, do some deep analysis, identify which measure you can put in place to eradicate the attack. Because if you cannot well secure a system, most of the time, if the attack is targeting it, there is a high chance that the attack lead to an intrusion on your network. You also have to have a business continuity plan. The business continuity plan is very important because it will tell you what you have to do when you face a cyber attack, and anything is working, what you have to do to continue to operate your business before your system come back again. And for that, it can be like when we have a ransomware attack and no system is available for us, we'll just take paper and pencil and we'll start calling our customer for any reason. And for that, if you identify that this can be challenging, maybe you have to print one copy of your customer. You have a customer list somewhere that the days that you need it, you can just take the list and having the phone number and the email address, and you can start calling them. And of course, other thing which is very important in cybersecurity is what we call defense in deep. Defense in deep is you have to consider that in your network, you have to put in place several layers of cybersecurity. First layer of cybersecurity is what we call perimeter defense. You have to, on your on the entering point of your network, you have to install what we call an intrusion detection and prevention system, which will monitor all communication entering and going out of your network. And the tool will analyze it to detect if you face some attack. And after that, it will alert you and you with recommendation to take action and to block the attack. You also have to have tool like a SIM technology, which will collect logs from servers and devices and to analyze them to detect if something seems to be suspicious. And also in each endpoint, you have to have an EDR technology. Antivirus is cool, but I strongly advise you to not use antivirus, but to use EDR technology. EDR technology are more, I will call them advanced antivirus. They will be able to do everything that the antivirus are doing. But after that, for example, if a file is running and the behavior of the file seems to be suspicious, the EDR technology will just kill the process and stop the file running, and this will help you to avoid an intrusion of your network. And doing user awareness is very important. And today, when we see the growth of the attack, I strongly recommend you to do your user awareness. I would say every month. If you can do it every month, it is okay. it is good. If you do your user awareness 1 time per year, consider that this is not enough because the landscape of the attack is growing, and every month or every 2 months, a new a scenario of phishing will appear. And if you don't train your guys to recognize it, unfortunately, one day someone will click. And last thing that I can talk about is your ransomware strategy. As you know, ransomware will be is the nightmare for companies today. It is will be the top one of the risks that most of the company will face. For that, you have to identify your strategy for ransomware. What you have to do when you face a ransomware attack. Step one, what you have to do. Step two, what you have to do, and so on. And for that, having your backup is very important. Doing your simulation is very important, and having your plan testing 1 time per year. You will sit with your team to do a tabletop, which is a simulation to understand how you can handle some attack is very important, and ensures that your system are well protected. And if a ransomware attack is occurring on your network, you will be able to detect it very quickly and to block it. And this will be very useful for you.
Because the question is to not if it would happen, but when. So the principal thing is to be ready when it can happen. So this is a list of what we're considering that you need to have on base, but based on your risk assessment you're going to do internally, you can address it depending on your budget, and also with also the expertise that you can have on hands internally to making sure that you ensure and you close it every doors. So as we say, in cybersecurity is not only a question of process or technology, is you need to have an holistic approach to approaching diverse type of threat and vulnerability um, they can with your organization. So the next step, after that we see the landscape, what is the current situation, also what is the critical aspect that companies should need to look. We see some cases, also scenario that can happen into every company that we see on the field. And Karim's talk about the little strategy to put in place. What is the best recommendation, Karim, that you can do for clients for the next step after this webinar?
Yeah, I would just say know your top risk. This is the number one. Know your risk. For each risk, what you have to put in place to decrease the level of risk. Do that. If you can do that, and you have also to consider that the bad guy use botnet today to attack your network 24/7. The million of botnet are running, and you have to monitor the security of your network, because if you don't monitor the security of a network, it can be on the night, it can be on the weekend. One day you will face an attack and the attack will be successful. And if you monitor the security of your network, you will identify every time that you are under attack, and you will just block the attack, and this will help you to enforce your security.
And also take in consideration that with all the little strategy that we just telling you, I know that it's not every company having some mandatory obligation to respond, but having those type of place. So when you're going to have an obligation from your sector, from your client, or another company who just want to ask you to put some stuff in place, you already have a lot of check-in that are already made, because cybersecurity is just starting to having some mandatory certification to put in place, so to respecting some requirements. So this is good for you to take in advance and be proactive in that case. I don't know if some people having some questions. So we have a period of question, and also some prepare some question that we're having the most with our clients. So you can you can't write directly in the chat if you don't want to speak, or I can allow you also to asking your question. So if we don't have any question for the moment that will come after, we can start from one that we've seen a lot from our clients. So which cybersecurity certification or framework are the most relevant for manufacturing company in manufacturing industry, by example?
Okay. We say that very managing the cybersecurity of IT is very different from operational technology. For IT part, you have to use you can use ISO 27001, SOC 2, CMMC, and other kind of certification that can be focused on IT. But for operational technology, The reference framework that you have to use is IUC 62443. This is created for operational technology because in such kind of system, when you install an operational technology, most of the time it is for 20 or I will say 20 years at minimum that you have to use this kind of technology. And this kind of technology, when you install them, you sometimes you cannot apply patch on that because this is the way that the product is created. You don't have the capability to install antivirus. You don't have the capability to install patch on that, and the system they have a lot of vulnerability, critical vulnerability, and you cannot fix them. This is the reason why ISA 62443 was created, and the focus is on network zoning, network segmentation. They are telling you to segment your network, to have your operational technology in a separate zone. Sometimes if you can do air gapping, it will be nice. Air gap is like you disconnect your operational technology network from the IT part. If you can do that, it's cool. But if you cannot do that, just use segmentation, use firewalling, create your zones, and ensure that the traffic going from operational technology zone to the IT zone is very limited, is filtered, and this will help you to enforce the security of your network. And of course, operational technology devices must be monitored 24/7 as like IT devices.
And also this framework, because it's not mandatory for every sector, but it's a good framework to take in consideration. And also this framework was created in 2013, the last version of it, and they just created a new version in 2025 in February, to responding to the cyber threat evolving into the manufacturing sector. So you can take this framework to creating your own framework on it as depending of your risk. So this is why we recommend this framework at the base. And also what is interesting into them is because right now you can address on one organization to environment. So this is why we recommend also this framework. So if there's no other question for the moment, we have another one here. So what are the specific tools and technology do you recommend to protect or aging infrastructure without having to replace them completely or creating also some loss of production, by example?
Yeah, I will come again talk again about network zoning because operational technology it is very hard to protect them because you cannot apply patch and something like that. And for that, network zoning is the right thing to do. And after that, of course, you have to use intrusion detection system IDS IPS to monitor the perimeter of your network, and SIM technology. If you can collect logs, it is okay. If you cannot do that, no problem. Just rely on your intrusion detection system and enforce the security, because in most of the time the constraint with this legacy system is that you cannot install EDL or antivirus system because they are outdated. This is the challenge, and you cannot do some vulnerability. You cannot fix the vulnerabilities that you can find on the system because sometimes you don't. The operating system provider don't provide any more new patch for that. And I will say here, network perimeter defense, defense in deep strategy. At the entering point of your network, you have to have IDS IPS system, and after that, network zoning and network monitoring 24/7. This will help you. And of course, take your backups, test your backup, ensure that everything will work the days that you need to use your backup.
So again, this is an holistic approach because it's pretty different than IT environment, and also us into monitoring operations because we are specialized into manufacturing companies. So we always asking to determining which asset is the most valuable and which one is more critical face to the risk they can face. So we can having a different approach with this top 10 or top 20 or depending of the size of the network of the client, to making sure that we can address properly and monitoring also those assets in the network. So we can take a last question before to go. We have another one. So how can we assess the effectiveness of your current cybersecurity solution without disrupting operation?
No, for discussion, what the right thing to do, you have to check, because most of the time the company they will implement cybersecurity tools, and we are thinking that the tools are working the ways that we are expecting. This is not true most of the time. When you install a cybersecurity product, you have to go on the product to check to see if the configuration in place is this is enough to enforce the security of your platform. If you don't do that, unfortunately, one day you will face an attack and you will identify that the configuration was not good. I remember one company where they put in place a cybersecurity product, and the intrusion, the IDS IPS, which is embedded on the project, was not activated. They don't activate that, but in the for according to the IT team, they are thinking that this module was activated, and there is an intrusion. And after that, when we did the investigation, we said that they had a cool configuration, but they forget to activate that. This is the reason why when you put in place your product, you have to check. If you don't have the expertise internally to do that, just call someone who can do some investigation, that do some diagnostic to ensure that the tool is well protected, well configured, and this will help you to just decrease the likelihood that a net region successful on your network.
Thank you. So it's 12 o'clock already. So we're going to end the session. But before to go, I will just let here on screen the email. So if you have any question, don't hesitate to write down us. That will be a pleasure to responding to your question and also presenting what we can do through StreamScan to helping our client or future clients. So I will going to wish you a wonderful day. And thank you so much to be present here today.